Do you have trouble deciding what to do first with your business? If so, you're not alone. As you'll see in my conversation with my pal and podcast coach, Wren Robbins. Wren is an award-winning podcaster who has interviewed business owners, international speakers, and New York Times best-selling authors. She helps business owners like myself launch their podcasts with a strategy for business growth. Wren has 2 podcasts, Don't Wing It and Friends of a Feather, and she and I sat down for one of our semi-frequent conversations here on the show to discuss how to determine where to focus time to move the needle in your business. So if you're wondering how to get the important things done or even how to choose what those things are, because it might be a mystery, you're going to love today's show. And now, listen in.
Welcome to Authentic Online Marketing with Ruthie Gray. Growing awareness for your blog, podcast, book, or product involves more than dancing to reels and yelling, "Buy my thing." This show models quality over clamor so you can put your spin on your message and market in a way that feels authentic to you, because nobody wants to sound like an infomercial. And now, here's your host, Ruthie Gray.
Hey, Wren, welcome back to the show. We're so glad you're here.
I am excited. You know, it's always a pleasure to come back on your show and talk to you, Ruthie. Totally.
I feel like we have this vibe that maybe someday we're just going to even have a Wren and Ruthie podcast. Who knows?
I'm here for it. You know I am.
I am too. Even if all we get done is laughing and helping other people laugh and
it's
laughing
fine.
at ourselves.
That's right. That's right. I'm here for it.
Well, as you know, we want to talk about how to get down to business, get things done as an entrepreneur. And I feel like you do this well as a podcast coach. You have your own business. And so what I want to get into is, when did you first realize you needed to corral your time for your business?
That is an excellent question. It's funny that you say that, because at the beginning of my business, I remember I would get on Instagram and I would post and I would put in stories and all the fun things. And I thought that was work. I was like, okay, I did my work today. And really? No, that's a part of work. Instagram is a part of it, but that's not all you do. And so I was just kind of like, let's post on Instagram, let's connect, which I love connecting, but there was not any purpose. It was not very purposeful. It was not intentional. And so, that's what I did. That's what I was in the beginning of my business. I was like, okay, I post on Instagram. That's work. That's how I started out. Isn't that crazy?
Right. And promo is such a large part of what we do, because people have to know how else are they going to find out. However, there has to be some reining in of really targeting your business. So how did you learn to corral that?
Yeah, that's good. It took a lot of discipline. I'll say that, because I'm a creative and it's hard to, rein that in when I'm having so much fun on Instagram. It's work and fun, huh? But when I hired a business coach, that was when I got into a mastermind. That was when it changed for me, because I realized this is not all a business is about. Yes, the social media is a part of it, but that is not it. And it was great to have a coach come alongside me and others in that group for me to realize I need to get down to business. Let's get into this work. Let's, have a day for content creation. Let's start your podcast for your business, Wren. I'd already had a podcast, but then I needed to have one for my business. And so that's really when it changed.
So let's talk about when new opportunities arise in your business, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
How do you run that through a filter to decide whether or not to spend time on that?
It's a great question. Your questions are always great. So I'm always excited to see what questions you throw my way. So in the beginning of your business, I've been reading the book, or I just finished reading the book by Grant Cardone called The 10X Rule. And it's talking about how most of us go and are doing things 1x, just like, typical, but few entrepreneurs are going 10x. They're going all in. They're doing 10 times what you should be doing. Now, I have to have a caveat. When I mention books, it's not that I fully endorse them. It's just I am reading a lot of different ones so that I can, what is it?
Sure.
You eat the meat and leave the bones. But
Got it.
the content is incredible because he talks about obscurity and how a lot of businesses are. That's the main thing we have to combat against is obscurity. And so I would say in the beginning of your business, you pretty much need to say yes to everything. I'm just going to say you need to get that exposure, that visibility, which is the opposite of obscurity. Okay. He might come from the perspective of you always say yes, no matter what, the whole time. I say in the beginning, you say yes. You want to have those collaborations with others, those connections. You always say yes. It's like in the office because when Dwight says, you want to be in an alliance with me? And it's like, absolutely, I do. So like, it's like your gym and the person that's coming to you at the beginning of your business, asking you to do something, a summit or a podcast episode or a collaboration on Instagram or whatever. You say, yes, absolutely, I do. Yes. So that's what I would say is at the beginning, say yes. Yes, absolutely, I will. And then as it goes on, as your business is building, then look at those monthly goals that you're setting for yourself, those yearly goals, and say, do these follow through with this? Does this align with the goals that I have? And then sincerely take time and pray about it. And then you're going to know. You're going to know. You're going to have a gut feeling. The Holy Spirit's going to tell you where, guide you where to go.
And the reason I think that you're saying, go ahead and say yes, is because at the beginning, we're not really clear on our business, what direction. But if we move, instead of just staying stuck in our own little corner, then God is going to show us through the movements and through the opportunities and the networking that we have what to do next.
And I've always heard recently, especially, is action. I don't know who says it, but action brings clarity. So if you take that action, it's going to bring you clarity of where you need to go and where you need to be and where you need to spend most of your time. Like you said, in the beginning of your business, you don't really know. You might be going into, you might be pivoting in something else. So that's huge. Take action.
Take action. So what would you say your top 3 tips for planning what to do each day are for your business?
This was my favorite question that you asked. So number 1 is you have to plan time block. That has really helped me a lot. And it doesn't mean you have to batch. I know a lot of people talk about batching and time block in the same hand. And a lot of people can't do one or the other. A lot of people can't batch. I'm one of those. I have to have a focus of like 1 week is 1 episode that I'm thinking about. I can't do more than 1 episode at a time. It's just too much. That's me. Other people can batch and do like 3 episodes and knock them out and great. So do what works for you. So I would say time block or batch or both, but plan beforehand, which is what you teach us in, your membership. It's always you plan beforehand. So that's number 1. Tip number 2 is to start connecting. This is kind of what I think. Start, build, and nurture. So you start connecting with somebody, you build that relationship, that trust, and then you nurture them. And that's kind of in life too. You start that relationship, you build that, you nurture that relationship just like you would a client that we would have in our businesses, but you're doing it beforehand. You're doing it on Instagram. You're doing it on whatever social media you use, but relationships are key. That is really huge to me of what I'm going to do every day because, and I can't, the other day, I was interacting with somebody that is a follower of mine. So I'm figuring like, okay, if they're a follower of mine, they probably are interested or possibly in starting a podcast. And so I started interacting with them and literally one comment, it wasn't anything to do with my business. It was on their page and commented about their post. And I know they would benefit so much from a podcast. And so I just commented and the next minute I see in my inbox is they booked a call with me, a discovery call. So it's good that you are, there's that exposure, there's that awareness. It's not being obscure. People are seeing your name with podcast coaching or whatever your business is. And so Relationships are huge. So I build that in my day every day. So, and then tip 3 is needle moving. What are you going to do today that's going to move that needle in your business? At the beginning of my business, I wasn't thinking of any of these. Yes, I was doing the relationships. That just comes a little bit more easier to me than other things. Believe me, I have other things that do not come easy to me. So let me just clarify that. But relationships do. And so, but the planning and then also looking at what is my needle mover today, what am I going to do today? That is more, it's more difficult for me personally to do. So I really have to be intentional and clear about what I want to do and being a needle mover. It's got to be a needle mover in my business.
Yeah. And I agree with all 3 of those things. I think they're super important. It's always important to plan, have a game plan, and then do pad in the time for relationships. I think that's something that especially writers and speakers have trouble with, is they're so focused on creating their content that they stay in their little hole, and they don't. I've even had writers say, I don't want to build relationships. I just want to write my book. But community grows opportunity, honey. That's just how it is. You have to network.
You do.
And then the needle moving part, that is hard. That's a hard concept sometimes for people to realize what is going to move the needle. But you have to think about like the low hanging fruit. What's there that is the thing that could move you that much closer to making a difference in your business. And you don't know that until you go back to like the first thing you said, Wren, and that was saying yes to opportunities so that you can refine that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's really important to look at like, what is a needle mover? I know you said that it's hard sometimes for us to even say, what is a needle mover in my business? I know I've been there. Like, what is this? Well, maybe it's a reach out. Maybe it's an email that you need to plan. Through your email course, Ruthie, it's helped me so much. And I cranked out 2 emails. I don't know if I messaged you. I was like, so proud. I was like, I need to message Ruthie and be like, I got 2 emails done. I think I did. And it was so great and freeing, but that's a needle mover. I mean, you have an offer in your email or a PS saying, book a call with me. That's a needle mover offering value. But then, what can I do? Can I reach out to somebody and say, hey, you'd be great at a podcast? It's interesting that you can go to somebody's Instagram page and see if they are relationship engaging or not. And so I say it's a free service that you can use. Social media is free that you can use, that you can establish those connections. And it's not about you. It's about truly helping those people, saying, I know you can benefit from this, so.
That is a good point that you bring out. It's about helping others. If it's not, we might need to adjust our vision and our mission for our business. So let's talk about it. You just touched on it about, you need to be on Instagram, and you must be building an email list. Even more important than Instagram, but kind of need Instagram to drive the traffic to the email list. But what's your best tip on how to balance Instagram growth and an email list with running a business?
That's really good, because you have to have both. And I remember in the beginning, it was you need a website, you need an email list. And those are the only 2 things that you necessarily, you own. You don't own social media. You don't own, any connections that you have there. You've got to take it to your email list. So, I mean, that's the thing, is you've got to really, when you're on Instagram, is mention that in your stories. Mention, hey, I have this download that you really need. It's the first 6 steps to start your podcast. This is where you need to start. And so balancing doing the email list, doing the Instagram, all the things. What I have done, I used to spend hours on Instagram at the beginning of my business thinking that was work. We talked about that earlier. But now it's a part of it, but some days it's not my focus. And that is where you have to decide for yourself, what is your needle moving? I'm going to get it done. I am going to interact with people, but it might not be at 9 a.m. I've got to do my most focused work in the morning. And that's what's changed for me, is where the shift of, and still this summer has been a little different. let me be honest, because of kids at home and things like that. So that's kind of like totally different. But in usually, the spring or the fall or winter during the school year, it is where I have to really get focused and laser focused about what I need to do in the morning. And I have either interviews or I have clients on one day, and then I just get that done. I look at my planner. I've already time blocked. I've literally drawn a block around the time block so that I know, okay, I've got to get this done in that way. And so that's really helped me to be more disciplined because I've got to do this. And then it's looked like, okay, Instagram is going to be maybe at 2:00. And then I might, I usually post at 9 a.m. That's kind of what I do during the school year. But if I need to really kind of draw it back in, I've got a project or something that is really a needle mover, I have to do that first. Then I do Instagram or social media, later in the day. And it works both ways. You just have to make sure it works for you. But that was what was really I needed. Because Instagram is fun for me. And a lot of people might need to do Instagram at 9:00 in the morning because that maybe isn't super fun for them. And it's hard work. To me, that was the funness. And so I had to do the work before the fun. Work before the fun.
You got to do the work.
Oh, yeah.
Like in Julie and Julia, that one line, I don't know if you know that, but that one, they were talking to their partner who was not doing the work. She doesn't do the work. So you have to figure out what is the work and get that done. And maybe some mornings it is Instagram and the email list, but you have to be really smart about it. And you can't really be smart about it until you go back to what you first said about planning beforehand. And that's how it's done. So
it really is.
I really am appreciative of you spending the time with us today to tell us how you break down your day and really make the needle move in your business. So, Wren, tell us a little bit about your podcast coaching and let the folks know how you can help them.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for the opportunity to share that, because that is truly my passion, is to help Christian business owners who want to explode their exposure, when they want to get away from the obscurity and really be known, and to be known for what they do best, whether it is being a blogger or writing or speaking or as a business owner. And so it's getting their message out and really casting that wider net so that you can work smarter, not harder. And so that's what I do, is I take you from zero to hero, zero to having a podcast. I take you through the steps. I have a 6-week program that I really enjoy, and it's all very personalized, and it's awesome. So I want to say that if you have been thinking, nobody's reading my blog anymore, or I just can't get my message out, nobody's watching me on Instagram, a podcast will set you up for success. If you create that content that you have for the podcast, you can repurpose it a lot of places, and it can help you with your content so much. And so I want to take women on that journey with me. I've been there, done that. My story is I had a podcast and I didn't know how to make money with it. And I knew there was a business in me. And then God called me to do this. And so it's important. And you can book a call with me to or follow along on Instagram and stalk me all you want. And it's great. So that's what I do to help others.
Yes. And just want to testify that what Wren says works. I was her very first client.
Yes.
She helped me get this podcast up and running, and 2 years and a few months later, we have over 40,000 downloads. People are finding us every day. And we're helping many writers, speakers, Christian entrepreneurs to further their message on Instagram and through newsletter marketing. And it works. Podcasting works. So y'all go follow Wren. Tell us your username, your handle on Instagram.
Yeah, it's Wren Robbins Coach. And I want to say this, Ruthie, you have taken this and gone way further than even in the beginning. You were my first client, but you have taken this and done amazing things with it. And I love how you say that it works. It does. And so I'm excited for you to be one of those pioneer people to do it in their business. And so It's been great to watch you. You're amazing.
Thank you, Wren. I did the work.
You did the work, and it is showing proof of that right now.
Thank you.
For sure.
So go follow her, grab her freebie. What's the name of the freebie?
Freebie is your first 6 steps. And you can find that as well there.
So starting your podcast. Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. Or book a call. She's amazing. And we love Wren on the show. This is, I don't know, the 3rd or 4th time you've been on.
I love it. It's amazing. It's the best.
Thank you so much for being with us, Wren, and sharing these very helpful tips on how to organize your day as an entrepreneur. And as always, we wish you well, and we hope you'll come back again really soon.
Thank you. I will. Thanks so much.
Wren gave us 3 clear time management tips. Have a plan and work the plan, build relationships, and target actions that move the needle in your business. She also gave a great tip for when you're first starting out and you don't really know what those actions should be. Say yes, but pray. The book she referenced, The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone, is linked in the show notes, as well as the last time she came on the show, sharing how she grew her account by 100 followers in 15 days. Of course, it's a given that we both believe podcasting is a huge plus for a business. So go pick up her freebie if you're interested, which is at the top of our show notes. Your first 6 steps to starting a podcast. And be sure to follow her on Instagram as well. As always, thank you so much for listening. And remember to share your message, your unique way, in your own authentic voice. We'll see you next week.